Thank you a lot that we can be here. It's really great, fantastic audience. And yeah, when I actually prepared the talk, I saw that the title, Transkribus as a toolkit for text recognition, transcription, for information extraction. Well, I thought toolkit, what is a toolkit? And first of all, yes, you can use Transkribus or Transkribus, I think you say. Transkribus as a toolkit, and you can transcribe text with it. You can train neural networks or hidden Markov models for recognizing handwritten text, also printed text. You can apply the models to your documents. You can measure the results, which is important. You can correct the results, also with the support of volunteers and the crowd. I think there is a difference between these two words, and maybe I will talk a bit about it later on. You can search in the recognized documents. You can export them in various formats, and hopefully you can also do a bit more with it. On the other hand, I think, is it really a toolkit? And I would stress that our ambition is higher than just to provide a tool, just to provide a piece of software. Our background comes from, or the background of the project comes from 4 considerations. And these 4 considerations are important to understand why I say that Transkribus is more than just a toolkit. I saw just some days ago a talk from Ray Smith from Google. He's part of the OCR group. So actually he wrote in the 90s the Tesseract tool, which some of you might know. It is a tool to recognize printed text. And they gave a talk at the Document Analysis Systems conference in Greece in spring this year. And what he was saying is, forget everything what we have done before. Now we are going to the neural networks. And he presented a system where Google will, which Google will use for recognizing their Google Books. And it is based on a machine learning approach. The old Tesseract wasn't actual machine learning, but yeah, something different. Or the traditional way to think at it, to write an algorithm, a clever algorithm, and to do pattern recognition in the traditional way. What do neural networks or machine learning software need? They need training data. Melissa already said it. The training data are extremely important, and the machine actually learns what it sees. I think Roger will say more about that afterwards, but this is the principle, that the machine can only learn what it has seen in a correct way if supervised learning is done. Neural networks last year had a big success. Maybe you followed this challenge between Google and the best Go players in the world. And the Google team won, as we all know. But what was really interesting was that it wasn't based on a clever algorithm like the chess game between Kasparov and Deep Blue 10 years before. In that case, the algorithm was based on a learning algorithm, also on neural networks. So the machine was just fed with games played before. And this was the input to learn the best strategy to win or to do the job. So this is really one background, and the other one was that, of course, the Transcriptorium project and also the work from the group from Roger, that it was really that we could see it is possible to read in an automated way historical handwriting. Then another important point is archives are starting now to digitize their collections. Well, they could do more, but on the other hand, one has to understand that until now, you couldn't do that much with digitized collections in the archival world. You can look at it, you can maybe do a crowdsourcing project, but compared with the overall amount of material in archives, that's really just a little. And if you visit an archive of a middle size, or you have kilometers of shelves, or even hundreds of kilometers of shelf, and this material is unique and it is unpublished. So from my point of view, I worked the last 15, 20 years mainly with libraries, and I was surprised to enter the archives world, that this material is really so interesting. It's really full of information, and it's untouched. And maybe the last person who has read the material was 50 years ago or longer. So it is extremely interesting, and one of our partners is the National Library, the National Archive of Finland, and they have made a strategic decision to digitize their complete holdings. Of course, this is something which takes some time, and you have to count probably in decades rather than years. But at least the understanding is there that that everything has to be digitized. Another starting point are the digital humanities. We have already heard a lot, and also the slide showing some text mining indicates that digital humanities are, at least from my point of view, data-driven, and not only data coming from running text, narratives like we have here with the letters or with the notes from Bentham, but if you look at archival documents, most often they are not running text, are not narratives, but lists or tables and that kind of material full of specific pieces of information which can be the basis for a new kind of, or not a new kind, but of an advanced kind of humanities. Yes, and also we already heard that volunteering and crowdsourcing is something which is now well established in cultural heritage projects. Also, when you look a bit in more detail, most often the same projects are cited, and it's not that easy then to really set up a successful crowdsourcing project. I think we have to make a distinction between volunteering and crowdsourcing. Crowdsourcing for me is really the micro task, e.g. if you fill in this reCAPTCHA at Google, you do some little tiny task for e.g. addresses now, or for recognizing text. Volunteering is, in contrast to this, a task which is really larger, which is requires much more engagement, much more knowledge, and usually not that many people are actually taking part. So you can count the 28 people, and this is a group where you actually know the people. Whereas in real crowdsourcing projects, you will not know the people. They will be completely anonymous. But I think volunteering was always important for cultural heritage in these institutions. And it is therefore important to provide tools that volunteers, so people willing to do more than just a tiny task, have the chance to take part as well. Okay, so this there are 4 important considerations which we had before we started writing the proposal and setting up this follow-up project to Transcriptorium Read. And therefore, I would like to call it a research infrastructure that we put together and that we try to provide tools, services to give answers on these 4 considerations. In more detail, this looks like this. So Transkribus understands itself as a platform which connects mainly to 4 user groups. On the one hand, the archives, on the other hand, humanities scholars, computer science and technology providers, and the public volunteers and the crowd. And the main function of the platform is to mediate between the different interests and the different perspectives of these user groups. Of course, archives have a different understanding of a document and what they expect from documents than a humanities scholar. And of course, computer scientists have a different view on that as well, and of course the public as again. And in the public concerning archives, we have to see that family historians are playing a big role. So again, in contrast to libraries, there is a market, a rather big market for family historians looking for their name and ancestors, and are also willing to pay for that. Yeah. So one important function is that the documents can easily brought into the platform, that they need to be processed there, that they can go back in an enriched way. So of course archives have an interest to receive standardized digital objects. So the interfaces are playing an important role here. Humanities scholars, on the other hand, want to work with documents. They want to do this in an individual, in a private space. They are preparing their publications. They want to have run their experiments, try out several things, maybe want to involve their colleagues, maybe want to involve the students, want to prepare documents for the courses. So a completely different approach to the archives. Computer sciences and technology providers are very much interested in reference data, as we already heard. So reference data are the data which can be are reliable, where the tools can be trained on. And they are looking also for challenges. So it's important to see that their interest to publish papers is also depending on what are the challenges there and which challenges can be solved. So that's an important issue as well. And of course, the public is looking for a simple web interface where you can type in your name and you will search within handwritten documents or printed documents, and which is easy to use, but also easy to use if you want to make some smaller contributions. So that's the big picture. As you already have seen, a lot of requirements and a lot of thinking goes into this platform, and therefore one of the developers has chosen the Wolperdinger, a Bavarian mythical creature, which is able to do everything as one of the, okay, so the READ project started this year, and it will run until mid of 2019. We got some budget. It is part of the e-infrastructure call from the European Community. And therefore, we are not a pure research project, but we have the chance, or we are also obliged to set up real services and to do also networking. 14 partners are taking part. I'm not several institutions, several universities, and we are also have a mechanism to be able to include institutions connected with the Memorandum of Understanding, e.g. the Linnean Society, and also the London Metropolitan Archive is now taking part with such a Memorandum of Understanding. Main objectives are, on the one hand, to support research in pattern recognition, machine learning, natural language processing, digital humanities. So that's really important. One part is, e.g., to organize competitions for researchers. We will do a competition on layout analysis. We are doing a competition on HDR. So this is a good method to involve other groups, to give them challenges and to see what is already possible. So this is one part. I will not talk about it. But also to set up this service platform, so to make the technology really available to archive scholars and the public. And of course, always the question comes, what happens after the end of the project? One good answer is the next application. That's clear. But on the other hand, of course, if you want to do real daily business, you need also to think on making this a permanent service. So this is also something which is on top of our thinking. Okay, so let's go to the toolkit, or to the expert interface, we call it, the Transkribus tool itself. The first concept I already mentioned, but I think it's really important, is that documents in the platform are private. So all what you have heard about copyright, you can forget more or less. As a researcher, you have usually privileges. You can use documents for your own research in a privileged way, compared to if you go to the internet or if you want to publish anything. That's completely on a different level. So the documents are private. You can work with them in a local mode. It's possible, but it's not very comfortable, because more or less you can just transcribe a document. Usually documents are uploaded to the platform. This means that they are on the server at the University of Innsbruck. And there are several methods to upload, actually 4 or 5. So the simplest way is to upload single documents up to 500 megabyte with an HTTP account. So you register, you log in, and you can simply upload the documents. You can also upload PDFs, because that's often the format researchers are getting scanned documents. So they are the images are extracted from the PDF and then uploaded. Then there's the chance to upload via private FTP. So every user in Transkribus who has registered has a private space of FTP on our server, and with FTP, thousands and thousands of images can be uploaded in a very simple way, and then you just you can transfer the images to the servers. Then the German Science Fund requires all German projects, digitization projects, that they make available their digitized documents via what they call a Metz Viewer or DFG Viewer. And this DFG Viewer has technically a specific format. And if you know this format, you can also use this URL to upload the document directly. And based on the same idea, so in that way, a lot of documents become simply available for a user who knows how to do it. So here you see the FTP upload. But we have now also cooperated with a company from Germany in Tranda. They are providing a repository system, I think 40 installations or so in all over Europe, and provide a Gobi viewer. And here we have a first prototype how it will look like, or demonstrator, and this will be part of the next version, standard version, that you get a simple link to directly upload documents from the website into Transkribus. And this means that researchers or whoever is interested can go somehow shopping and collect the documents from various repositories and digital libraries into their own private Transkribus collection. The idea behind is that not everything needs to be done at the repository side or at the library side or at the collection side, but for the researcher, the perspective of the researcher is of course not the perspective of the archive who wants to provide a specific service, but to have all documents in one environment which is where he's used to work with, and so every document would look like the same. Okay, one important thing is to have the chance to create a scholarly transcription, so a reliable scholarly transcription, but the same transcription which can be used as an input for a scholarly edition can also be used to train the handwritten text recognition. So again, the idea that we use something which happens anyway in the humanities can also be used to train the engine. Yeah, for that purpose, it is necessary to have the document in the platform, to have the lines segmented. This can be done automatically. Will not always lead to perfect results. And keying is a manual task, can be supported also with specific characters. So, as I said, the neural network will learn what it sees, so even specific characters can be learned. Yes, if you have finished the part, maybe 50 pages or 100 pages, write an email. Yes, of course, it would be much more elegant that you press the button and you can train the model yourself. But training takes some while, and our servers in Innsbruck are currently rather busy. We are trying to integrate an HPC, a high performance computing facility, which we run at the university. But that's not that easy, and it's a hard task. So it will take some time. So currently we are doing the training. We have two engines actually running. The one coming from Spain, hidden Markov models. One with recurrent neural networks coming from Rostock. They are a bit different. The main difference, I think, for the user is that the neural networks are more comfortable. Recognition is much faster, just a minute probably for a page, whereas HMM is currently still very slow, 20 to 60 minutes per page. Recurrent networks also allow a free choice of the dictionary, so there is a less they are less dependent on the language model, but still there is some dependency we will hear about more. The main limitations we are facing currently is the layout analysis. So to find the lines, especially in documents where a lot of additions and so on are there, is a hard task, and I would say, or we have an expert who is saying that that this is the harder task than actually handwriting recognition. Yeah, that's how it looks in Transkribus. That's the snapshot version. The snapshot version will become the standard version probably in a week or two. So as you see, we have here the two models. They have names which where you have troubles to understand. The concept behind is that you will have your own private models, but also general models, which you will then understand English writing 18th century, something like this, like that. So the job is finished, and the text will be there. What to do with an automatically recognized text? On the one hand, measure results. I think that's really important. Often, also when you talk with people about OCRing, you don't have real figures how good is the OCR. But in computer science, they have well-established matrices like character error rate and word error rate, and we have built them in. So you can compare the page which you want to test with the actual outcome. So in that case, that's a model we did for German writing 18th century, and we trained it on I think 60 pages or something like that. Not you see it's rather small lines, so not too many words, and we got here a character error rate of 9%. So 1 out of 10 characters is an error. Yeah, you can correct text, and we had already the discussion what is the implication of automatically recognized text. Our experience, this is not a scientific figure, but from the experience, I would say that above 20% correction, above 20% character error rate, correction takes as long as keying and is annoying. Yeah? Because it is much more annoying to use the mouse and to go to the error and to correct it than just to key. Above 10%, yeah, or around 10% character error rate, so what you have seen here as a real world example, the correction is definitely faster than keying. Experienced readers still prefer to key because, again, it is for the brain, it is much nicer to read and to write than to look for errors and to correct these errors. Below 10%, this changes because you are so much faster. You are so much faster that e.g. we had examples with 6% character error rate or so, and you need just 1/3 of the time you would need for keying. Then, of course, also experienced readers will start to correct. Actually, we believe that we have to leave this to the user. It's up to him, and one page might bring good results, the other page might, the engine might deliver bad results. So that's something you have to find out. But of course, one of the most interesting examples is searching in the full text. You will afterwards hear something about searching as keyword spotting, which is even more exciting, but this is just traditional full text search. We also have built in this into the toolbox or into Transkribus. So this means that every document in your private collection can also be searched full text in, I think, a convenient way. So it allows not only searching the word, it allows also faceted search. So in that case, you can see I have searched across the collection. There are several for London, and there are several authors, and we see that a colleague from the US has transcribed some letters from George III. And if you select then George III, we see the hits of London in these documents. And of course, if you click on that, you come to the document directly. So that's exactly what I think is working with documents and with your private collection. And then the documents are private but can be shared with working groups, colleagues, students, and volunteers. You can decide how many people shall have access to this. So that goes via the collection manager. And then also important, all the documents, you need to be able to export them so that all the information which is there can also be transformed to an output format. As you see, we have a long list. Among it also TI, so no need to write TI code. It's just what you see is what you get. Yeah, and also very important and a typical characteristic of a platform is that all the services are available not only for human beings, but also via REST services. This means that they are machine readable. You can see here the REST interface, and programmers or developers or other systems like repository systems and or platforms for text mining or whatever can more or less easily access the documents directly from the Transkribus platform with the credentials of your collection. Okay, what will come next? The neural networks for recognition will be soon, as you have seen already they are in the snapshot. There will be a table editor, an e-learning interface, a web interface for a simplified transcription, text-to-image matching tool. Just a few words. Tables are extremely important, and the table editor will allow to define tables, and there will be a tool from Vienna, from the Technical University, which matches templates with actual tables. So especially in case of printed tables, this should lead to good results. Export will be Excel, so you can export the data you're interested in. Then extremely important are e-learning interfaces. As we have heard, the dropout quote from crowdsourcing or volunteering projects is high. And I believe it's not so much because people are not so interested, but if they don't feel confident. And if you want to feel confident, you need to have an environment where you can try out without disturbing, but also try out with some self-evaluation. So we use again exactly the same document which we use to train the computer is shown to the user, and randomly one word is left out, and the user has the chance to put it in and to see was it correct or incorrect, or to cheat. And there will also be a lookup for the characters, so he can also look how is a big K written in this document. And he gets the statistics. The web interface was already mentioned, so that's important, that also every document in Transkribus will be can be displayed in a simplified web interface so that it is easier to involve other people. And also important, a text-to-image matching tool where printed editions or digital editions which are already available can be matched automatically with the image, and on that basis the training process might start or can be eased. And there will be a scan app which also connects directly with the Transkribus platform, with your collection, so that you can take pictures from documents and you have them directly in the environment. Yeah, so try it out. Of course, as I said, it is an expert interface. We have written, we have some how-to papers, and we hope that they help us, but help you. But of course, it takes some time to get familiar with the whole concept behind and what is actually possible. And we are happy also to conclude memorandum of understanding with institutions interested in collaboration. Thank you.